Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago hosts a presentation and discussion on its latest monetary policy report. The University of the Southern Caribbean is this country's latest tertiary education institution to receive accreditation status. And Minister in the Ministry of National Security meets with key stakeholders on the island of Tobago to discuss the framework on national youth mentorship policy. But first, this.
In our last broadcast, we told you about this publication, Fulfilling the Promise, in which the government outlines the long list of achievements marking its 2 years in office. Taking a second look at it now, we point to you some more details as they relate to the specific initiatives in a couple of ministries. Here's our report.
At the Ministry of National Security, Minister John Sandy summed up the situation as he saw it coming in this way. We have looked hard into the heart of the social challenges we face, and we see that heart to be a young heart, the heart of the youth. We see it pulsating with a potent mixture of anxiety, energy, confusion, and uncertainty. We see it at one moment capable of being loving and kind, and at another being cold, careless, and reckless. In a moment, our youth could be laughing out loud. In a heartbeat, they could be striking out viciously. As a consequence, we see this, the heart of our nation, to be in dire need of attention from all of us, unquote. It was against this background that the minister set about the launch of the National Mentorship Program with the help of the retired U.S. General Colin Powell, former National Security Advisor and then Secretary of State in the United States. Among its other achievements during these 2 years, the ministry lists last year's state of emergency as having produced tangible results in the fight against crime. These included the seizure of 190 firearms, 13,550 rounds of ammunition, 17.2 kilograms of cocaine, and 1,261.9 kilograms of marijuana. It also led to the expansion of police intelligence gathering, removal of criminal threats through collaborative efforts within communities, and providing residents with an opportunity to partner with law enforcement officers. A total of 21 initiatives are listed. Hailing their achievements as a transformation of the country's criminal justice system, the specially created Ministry of Justice, headed by former Justice Herbert Volney, piloted a package of new legislation in the Parliament, including the Indictable Proceedings Bill, a DNA Bill, and the Legal Aid and Advice Bill, aimed at providing greater access to legal aid and advisory services. The Justice Ministry also developed a policy to guide the establishment of a parole system in Trinidad and Tobago, and one that seeks to strengthen and redefine the functioning of the Police Complaints Authority. Over at the Ministry of Tobago Development, perhaps the biggest story here has been the opening of the new Scarborough General Hospital. As well, there was continuing construction of the Scarborough RC and the Scarborough Methodist School, and the establishment of an integrated campus catering for students pursuing studies at COSTAT, the UTT, and the UWI. These are among a total of 18 initiatives under Minister Vanella Allen Toppin's watch over these 2 years of achievement.
Fulfilling the promise, the achievements of government from one ministry to another. News 4 continues after the break.
Before 2007, what we had existing in the Trinidad and Tobago Police was a manual system where the information were placed in books and ledgers. With the introduction of CAPA, all information now is being placed on computers.
You will see how we have been redeployed so more of us can take to the streets on 2 legs and 4 legs, on 2 wheels and 4 wheels, on land and in the air, with the aim of not only fighting crime, but working to prevent crime before it happens.
The initiative itself is focusing on our core services, that being responding to calls for service from the public and being out in the community patrolling to ensure that there is a high level of safety and security within the communities, within the neighborhoods that our officers are patrolling in.
Welcome back. The Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago hosted a presentation and discussion on its latest monetary policy report. Presenting the report, Central Bank Governor Ewart Williams noted that the local economy has experienced a surplus in the first quarter of 2012.
Key indicators in the Trinidad and Tobago economy point towards a period of recovery. Central Bank Governor Ewart Williams, in presenting the April 2012 monetary policy report, highlighted that the financial year got off to a positive start, with a surplus when compared to figures of last year.
Based on the preliminary data from the Ministry of Finance, there was an overall surplus of 2.8 billion in the first 6 months of the fiscal year, compared with a deficit of 207 million in the corresponding period last year.
While admitting that the country had in fact experienced sluggish economic growth over the past 3 years, Governor Williams noted that employment figures remained stable and the economy's recovery stood a chance.
According to the latest data released by CSO, the unemployment rate, and the latest data we have for the unemployment rate was it's for the third quarter, and according to that data there was a decline in unemployment from 5.8% to 5.2%.
The report gives a summary of the indicators that affect the local economy, and it's the first one published by the Central Bank for this year. He added that it was government's implementation of public sector investment programs that stood to propel financial growth.
Private sector representatives acknowledge several government initiatives geared to promote new business investment.
The latest report indicates an increase in the value of income funds by 3.6%, while equity funds grew by 10.1%. The index of retail sales also saw growth by 13.3% on a year-on-year basis to December 2011. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
The University of the Southern Caribbean has become this country's latest tertiary education institution to receive accreditation status. The certification signifies that the institution's facilities, resources, and quality management systems are on par and meets a minimum internationally accepted standard. At the ceremony held in recognition of the milestone for the USC, Tertiary Education Minister, the Honorable Fazal Karim, said with the achievement came the responsibility of always providing the best in education.
The Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago has given yet another local tertiary education institute certification status. University of the Southern Caribbean USC is the first private and faith-based university in the Caribbean region to be awarded universal accreditation. Minister of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education Fazal Karim said accreditation meant accountability to students attending their institution.
I want to ask you to consider this accreditation award almost like a Category 1 award. You are now upgraded, and do everything not to be downgraded. Very many people may acquire certification. That is not the only thing that is required for performance. It is one thing to have a paper saying that you are certified, and that's very important. But it's another thing to perform to the standards that the paper has said you should perform.
The minister noted that USC now had an added obligation to maintain a standard not only to the student population, but to the international community.
I want to also ask that the support services of the University of the Southern Caribbean be substantially enhanced and maintained consistently, because of the fact that GATE is going to have some stringent requirements in the future, so that we can get student data real time. Because what happens sometimes is people may wish to graduate and at the last moment may realize that they are unable to graduate because of certain obstacles there or requirements that they have to fulfill. And it is very distressing to know that you are preparing to graduate and then you are told that unless you fulfill these requirements, you can't.
Minister Karim took the opportunity to urge the USC to forge relations with other local tertiary education providers.
I want to invite the University of the Southern Caribbean to be connected with our other tertiary institutions under this ministry. And that we want to afford you that privilege as well. We want to congratulate you as well as you move south. And that is another significant event that the USC is going to experience soon as you expand your services in the north and the south.
The accreditation has been issued for a 7-year period, the maximum period for any institution to achieve certified status. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
More news after the break. Stay with us.
The iPhone 4S has an all-new camera with 8 megapixels and advanced optics. So it lets you capture stunning photos. And because it's an iPhone, you can do things you never imagined possible with a camera. So maybe the only camera you need is the one on the most amazing iPhone yet.
Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Colin Partap, met with several key stakeholders on the island of Tobago to discuss a framework on national youth mentorship policy. Discussions on the way forward as well as the integration of the program into schools were brought forward.
Consultations on the National Youth Mentorship Policy were taken to the island of Tobago once again. It is there Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Colin Partap, noted that further discussions were needed to build on what was done last year and to aid in creating a policy to guide government's way forward in promoting the National Youth Mentorship Program.
Mentoring requires a willingness to share, listen, and provide advice in a flexible relationship shaped by the needs of the mentee. It requires the individual to impart high-quality advice, care, and a commitment to help the charges under the mentor's care, the mentees. It is the way for everyone involved in the mentoring process to improve our country, one person at a time.
Advisor to the Minister of National Security, Roy Augustus, said such collaboration would bring about the needed changes to the document that would facilitate international standards in the program, which has transformed the lives of young people across the globe.
What government is hoping is that there will be collaboration among all the parties involved, and that at the end of the day, the National Mentorship Program should provide a lot of support and sustenance to those groups which are out in the field doing what they are doing, and that there should be some kind of networking, and there should be some kind of bar by which we compare what we are all doing, and that's why this exercise is taking place. We are hoping at the end of this exercise, when we pull everything together with what we have done so far in Trinidad, that we will have a document which will spell out in some form or fashion the policy guidelines for mentorship being carried out in Trinidad and Tobago, whether by the state, by private individuals, or international organizations.
The minister outlined several practices when applied will see the enhancement of the mentorship program. He added there continues to be screening of applicants that will serve as mentors under the program.
In Tobago, we have had 2 sets of camps, one in August 2011 and the other during the Easter this year. Secondly, the recruitment and training of mentors are ongoing, and activities ongoing so far, and 378 out of 575 applicants have been screened. 3, actual monitoring has started in both Trinidad and Tobago. 4, we've signed an MOU with COSTAT. 5, we have published a procedural manual for the National Mentorship Program.
The draft, formulated as a result of the suggestions arising out of discussions, will be submitted to Cabinet. It's the aim of the ministry to have the policy ready within the month of May. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
June 2012 is designated Championship Month by the National Association of Athletics Administrations. This was revealed when the NAAA unveiled its program for the highly anticipated national championships. Wayne Cunningham was at the Marriott Hotel for the launch, and he has more in this report.
The top athletes bidding for places on Trinidad and Tobago's team to the London 2012 Olympics will be on show at the National Open Track and Field Championships on the 23rd and 24th of June at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. And according to Alan Babulal, chairman of the Games Committee, it's not just about showing up.
It is very important for the 4x1 women's relay team to compete at the championship as a country. And therefore, we have asked the IAAF to declare the championship as a relay qualifier. They have said yes, and once we have 3 countries participating, including Trinidad and Tobago, once you make a standard or once you register a time, that will be aggregated with one other time, and then you'll be placed, if you are, in the top 16. As against the IAAF, where you have a qualifying standard, and if you make the qualifying standard, you're in. In the case of the Olympics, is the top 16 team, so we have to be there. So we are a little bit uncomfortable at the moment, and so that it is important for us to compete as a country in the championship. So what we have done is to move the 100 meters back to Saturday.
Before the Open Championships, meets for the juniors and juveniles are planned, making June a bumper month for track and field enthusiasts.
In addition to the championship, we have the junior champs and the juvenile championships. The junior champs will serve as also a qualifier for selection of athletes who will be selected to go to the CAC Junior Championships in El Salvador and the World Junior Championships in Barcelona, Spain, also during the month of July. The Juvenile Championships is an important event for us, and by the way, you should know that it is the biggest of all our championships. You have more athletes, youngsters coming out to compete for the Juvenile Championships.
Brian Lewis, Secretary of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, was candid when expressing his excitement for the championships.
I would want to describe it as Christmas time in June, because I firmly believe we are in for the time of our lives.
As a long-time sports administrator, Mr. Lewis knows the challenges the organizers face with a project of this magnitude, and he was high in praise for those who partnered with the N3As.
It would be remiss of me if I did not acknowledge the contribution that Sagicor General, Blue Waters, the sport company, and the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs have made and have been making. I think it is very easy to pile stones and be critical, but the reality is that even though the key stakeholders may have their differences from time to time, the bottom line is that we have a shared vision, and in this case, the shared vision for high-performance sport is success at the Olympic Games. And the important thing is that we agree to disagree agreeably, and that where there are significant differences, the conversation and dialogue continues.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
TT Pro League outfit Caledonia AIA advanced to the finals of the Caribbean Football Union Club Championship with a 5-0 win over Group 4 host Georgetown in the Cayman Islands. The Morval Laventil squad actually started its campaign with a hard-fought draw versus Puerto Rico Islanders. That, coupled with last night's win, secure AIA a place in the finals as one of the 2 teams from Group 4. Haitian team Baltimore Sportif withdrew from the tournament due to financial and visa concerns, making it a 3-way battle for the 2 spots. Caledonia was held goalless at the half-time whistle, but 2 minutes into the second half, Devon Jostling opening the scoring for the Jamal Shabazz coach team. It was Jostling again in the 71st as AIA took over the match at the TEMC Field Sports Center in Georgetown. Substitute Trevon Caesar then put the game out of the reach of the hosts with strikes in the 72nd and 76th minutes. The victory was sealed by Conrad Smith in the 80th to make it 5-0 Caledonia AIA. They now join countrymen W Connection FC and Antigua Barracudas in the final. The last place will be decided on Friday night when Georgetown play Puerto Rico Islanders. When we come back, fulfilling the promise.
a Homo sapien. We'll call him Mark. It spends its days trying to attract a mate. Success. What follows is a series of celebratory actions unique to this species. Every Homo sapien has their own way of displaying themselves to attract a female. But things don't go according to plan.
Where the water gone?
No water, no love. Pay your WASA bill today.
The Water and Sewage Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Water security for every sector. Deliver it. Sustain it.
To commemorate its achievements in its second year in office, the government launched a 45-page glossy collector's magazine. The magazine, titled Fulfilling the Promise, Shaping the Future, is a compilation of the major achievements of each individual ministry, set to reflect on the 7 interconnecting pillars of development as outlined as part of government's strategic framework. In her message to citizens, Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar noted the government's second year in office was set to be one of delivery, and throughout the pages of the magazine, citizens will see and read the tangible evidence intended to support the government's promise of delivery, as it is intended to give citizens that opportunity to examine some of government's achievements. The Honorable Prime Minister noted that this publication represents her government's commitment to the principle of accountability, as it seeks to present the completed work done by the government in a simple, easy-to-read format.
In our special feature, Fulfilling the Promise, we highlight the initiatives and achievements of the government over its 2 years in office. At News 4, we have joined in that effort, and each day in our news package, we feature one of those highlights from the long and impressive list of milestones over these 24 months. In this story, we'll look at the first Shouter Baptist Primary School.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar is commending the Spiritual Baptist community for what she calls their unwavering commitment to their faith. Speaking at the ceremony to officially open the St. Barbara's Spiritual Shouter Baptist Primary School located along the Churchill Roosevelt Highway in Maloney, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar says the occasion is indeed one to be very proud of.
Today, records in the history of our nation and our land, another milestone in the journey of the Spiritual Shouter Baptists. The first major milestone would have been when the ordinance was repealed in 1951. And it would have been repealed because of the work of so many who came before us. And to those we pay tribute today, and we give thanks and praise to God that they never gave up, that they continue to work and to struggle. In face of all the discrimination they faced, they never gave up.
The Honorable Prime Minister also emphasized the importance of education while also promising to establish a secondary school as well for the Spiritual Shouter Baptist community.
Education is the passport out of poverty. Education is the key out of poverty. The only wealth that we can give to our children that will inure to their benefit, redound to their benefit, will be a sound education. And so I hear your cry, Archbishop, on that of your community and mine. We will help you to build a secondary school for the Spiritual Shouter.
Mrs. Persad-Bissessar also shared her own personal experience while expressing her views on the value of education.
For myself, I would have been no one, I would have been nothing. I would have been a very poor, lonely person. But I know what has helped me and so many of us sitting here in this audience and elsewhere would be education. So let us work together to keep this school, which looks absolutely beautiful now, to keep it a place of learning in your own faith, in your own traditions. We have 16 boards under the Concordat, boards, religious boards, schools. Today, and as we open this school, hand over the keys, we record 17 religions with schools.
Speaking with reporters at the event was Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and Communications, Dr. Surajratan Rambachan, who called the moment an historic one in Trinidad and Tobago.
The government has a policy on multiculturalism, and therefore we want to live up to that policy of multiculturalism. And so we are here today for more than just a celebration. This is a historic day. For many, many years, the Baptist movement have been promised a school, and it took the People's Partnership Government and the vision of the Prime Minister, Kamla Prasad Bisasa, and the excellent work of Minister of Education, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh, to ensure that this project was done in less than 6 months. So this is a very happy and historic day for the Baptist community.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.